I just discovered Bomb Cube's Teapot viewer voting, so I'll attempt to summarize it. Episode 1 was released in June 26, 2023. The tasers are the exact same as the canon, plus Teardrop. A wheel is shown, but it's a T-wheel instead of the contest wheel. The wheel ended on Just Not, but instead of putting them on formation, Bomb Cube spun the wheel again. The wheel ended on the S, but for some reason, Bomb Cube spun the wheel for a third time. The wheel ended on Teardrop, but instead of putting her on formation, Bomb Cube spun the wheel for the fourth time. And at the end of all of this, Are You OK was the only team to be put on formation, despite not being touched by the wheel. Voters can vote with the letter and square brackets, but for some reason, they're not in alphabetical order. Surprisingly, the voting rules are reversed. Voting time is unspecified. Another 2,763 voted fries in lowercase. Changing into my anti-sis voted golf ball 3 times. Darius voted pen in lowercase. Pen was projected to be eliminated. And this is exactly what happened. Episode 2 was released in July 3, 2023. The wheel ended on Teardrop, but for some reason, Bomb Cube kept spinning the wheel. And at the end of all of this, and many people being chosen by the wheel but being announced safe anyway, the strongest team on Earth was put up for elimination out of nowhere. This is the first episode where the voting time is specified, and it lasts 5 days. The thumbnail of episode 1 contains 40 and Barf Bag. The thumbnail of episode 2 contains Puffball and Teardrop. And the thumbnail of episode 3 contains Donut and 2. Bomb Cube says a box of puppies instead of cake. 40 and Robot Flower were projected to be tied, but 40 was eliminated instead. According to my calculations, Robot Flower got 4 votes. Episode 3 was released in July 8, 2023. The wheel ended on Are You OK? But for some reason, instead of putting them on formation, Bomb Cube spun the wheel again. Death Pact again was put up for elimination instead, despite being the only one not selected by the wheel. For some reason, Bomb Cube says a piece of Forest corpse instead of cake. Pie was projected to be eliminated, and this is exactly what happened. The wheel ended on Teardrop, but Just Not was put up for elimination instead. Jenny Bowman voted cake in lowercase. Bomb Cube says one of the random watermelons we found instead of cake, and each contestant were given random armless watermelon characters instead of cake. Neely and Pillow were projected to be tied, but Cake, Neely, Pillow, and Price Tag tied instead. But Bomb Cube said we will spin a wheel to determine who is safe instead of, so we need a tiebreaker. The wheel ended at Cake, and then Price Tag, and finally Pillow, meaning Neely is eliminated. Episode 5 was released in July 19, 2023. The wheel ended on the S, but Death Pact again was put up for elimination instead. Jacob voted Fanny in lowercase. Cassia Souza put a space between the letter and square brackets when trying to vote Lightning, and Fan voted Tree by name. The thumbnail of episode 4 contains Spell and X. The thumbnail of episode 5 contains Golf Ball and Tennis Ball, and the thumbnail of episode 6 contains Winner and Coining. Bomb Cube says Pink Buckets instead of Cake. Black Hole was projected to be eliminated, and this is exactly what happened. According to my calculations, Black Hole got only 3 votes. 2 showed up, and then Black Hole disappeared. Episode 6 was released in July 27, 2023. The wheel ended on Are You OK? But Teammates was put up for elimination instead. For some reason, Bomb Cube says a bucket of ice instead of cake. Pin was projected to be eliminated, and this is exactly what happened. According to my calculations, Pin got only 1 vote. Episode 7 was released on August 5, 2023. The wheel ended on the strongest team on Earth, but Just Not was put up for elimination instead. Rainbow 11 voted Pillow by name. Disky put spaces between the letter and square brackets while trying to vote Book. The thumbnail of episode 7 contains TV and fries. Bomb Cube says an abacus instead of cake. Price Tag was projected to be eliminated, and this is exactly what happened. According to my calculations, Price Tag got only 3 votes. Episode 8 was released on August 15, 2023. The thumbnail contains Black Hole and Pie. The wheel ended on Just Not, but Death Pact again was put up for elimination instead. Voting time has been doubled, but Bomb Cube didn't give any reason for the change. Cam Boom put in a left square bracket instead of a right square bracket while trying to vote Lightning. Today's cake is a jar of cyanide. Fanny and Tree were projected to be tied, but Tree was eliminated instead. Episode 9 was released in January 11, 2025. Bomb Cube claims that the last TT standing will be up for elimination, and I don't know what this means. The wheel ended on the strongest team on Earth, but surprisingly, Are You OK and Just Not were put up for elimination instead. Despite a hiatus of close to 2 years, the voting style doesn't change, but the letter and square brackets are fixed. Sean Roloff was the only person to vote twice, and he voted fries and cake. Today's cake is Flowers' shoes. Eraser was projected to be eliminated, while Bombi and Pillow were projected to be tied, and this is exactly what happened. But Bomb Cube said, so we will spin the wheel to see which one of them will be eliminated instead of, so we need a tiebreaker. The wheel barely landed at Bombi, meaning Pillow was eliminated. Episode 10 was released in January 26, 2025. The thumbnail of episode 9 barely contained 1, and the thumbnail of episode 10 barely contained Snowball, but it also contained Grassy. The wheel ended on Are You OK? But for some reason, in the middle of the contest, Bomb Cube will eliminate Teardrop for no reason and put Death Pact to get up for elimination instead. Today's cake is fries. Marker, Fanny, and Lightning are projected to be tied, and this is exactly what happened. But Bomb Cube said, so we have to spin the wheel to see who is eliminated instead of, so we need a tiebreaker. The wheel ended on Lightning, and then Fanny, meaning Marker is eliminated. Episode 11 was released in February 8, 2025. The thumbnail contains 1. The wheel ended on the S, but surprisingly, Death Pact again and Are You OK were put up for elimination instead. Today's cake is X's satisfaction detector. Remote was projected to be eliminated, while Puffball and Fries were projected to be tied, and this is exactly what happened. According to my calculations, Fanny and Lightning got only 1 vote. The wheel ended on Puffball, meaning Fries was eliminated. Episode 12 was released in February 18, 2025. The thumbnail contains Lightning and Marker. The wheel ended on Team 8s, but surprisingly, the S and Are You OK were put up for elimination instead. Today's cake is a funny plant. Yellowface, Rocky, Winner, Clock, and Cloudy were projected to be tied, while Golf Ball was projected to be eliminated, and this is exactly what happened. For this tiebreaker, the wheel will decide who is eliminated. The wheel landed on Clock, then Yellowface, then Rocky, and finally Cloudy, meaning winner is eliminated. Episode 13 was released on March 1, 2025. The thumbnail contains Belle. The wheel landed on Are You Okay? But surprisingly, the S and Just Not were put up for elimination instead. AJ ABC channel voted Ice Cube in one comment and Cake in another. Today's cake is a basket of nails. Yellowface and Nico were projected to be eliminated. And this is exactly what happened. Episode 14 was released on March 16, 2025. The thumbnail contains Ice Cube. The wheel barely landed on the strongest team on Earth. But surprisingly, teammates in the S were put up for elimination instead. The voting style finally changes, but instead of changing the voting style back to normal, Bomb Cube switches it to Google Forms. Bomb Cube doesn't give a reason for the change. Episode 15 was released on March 26, 2025. The thumbnail contains X, 4, and 2. Today's cake is grass. Both teams were jumbled together. Saw and Rocky are eliminated. But for some reason, Bomb Cube eliminated Cloudy instead of Rocky. And according to my calculations, Rocky got 9 votes, meaning Cloudy was fairly eliminated. Bomb Cube was everyone into 3 teams of 6 and 1 team of 5. Bomb Cube announced an Exodus debut, but surprisingly, voters could vote on Google Forms. Episode 16 was released on August 12. The thumbnail contains Sapie, Bracelety, Pencil, Roboti, and 4. Halfway through the debut, Bomb Cube claims that the debut will be unexpected. Roboti joins the game. The wheel landed on Team 2, but surprisingly, Quagye and Deathpack yet again were put up for elimination instead. Surprisingly, the voting style doesn't change. And when the voting style was changed to Google Forms, voting time was no longer specified. Voting time was specified again in episode 16, and voting lasts 10 days. Episode 17 was released on April 28, 2025. The thumbnail contains Bobby and Needle. Today's cake is a book about some facts. Even though Deathpack yet again was to the left, Bomb Cube did the elimination for Quagye first. Puffball and Basketball are eliminated. The wheel landed on Deathpack yet again, but surprisingly, Quagye and were put up for elimination instead. Episode 18 was released in July 21, 2025. The thumbnail contains Aggie and Fanny. Today's cake is a heavenly pin. For some reason, Bomb Cube does Quagye first. Roboti and Donut are eliminated. But for some reason, Bomb Cube eliminates Quack instead of Roboti. According to my calculations, Roboti got 386 votes, meaning Quack's elimination is valid. Bomb Cube announces a rejoin. Surprisingly, the rejoin voting is in Google Forms. For some reason, Bomb Cube allows everyone to vote more than once. Bomb Cube posted a poll, but it was actually a quiz, and it claimed that Yellowface got the most votes.